Hey, what's party? Welcome back to News Dose, and today very well might be one of the most historic days in gaming history, or maybe even one of the most cursed days, depending on how you look at it. Gears of War is now out on the PlayStation 5, and Helldivers 2 is now available on Xbox. I mean, what a time to be a gamer. And fans are hopefully welcoming each other as they're now playing together hand in hand, or, maybe even fist to fist. Who knows? But we are going to talk about both of those games today, as the results have been quite interesting. Now, we're also hearing about another Nintendo Direct because, hey, why not? We need Nintendo Direct rumors pretty much all year round, but admittedly, I do think that there's a reason to at least talk about this one specifically. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with another surprise turn of events. If you've been gaming for a long time, you might remember the name Acclaim. They were one of gaming's most iconic publishers back during the 90s because they played a part in games like Turok, Mortal Kombat, Shadow Man, several wrestling games, and the list just goes on and on and on. However, in the early 2000s, things didn't exactly go as planned for them, and because of that, they eventually shut their doors down, leaving the industry to companies like Activision, EA, and Ubisoft. Interestingly, though, they're making a comeback in 2025, and they now have a showcase planned for September 10th. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that, but in their announcement, they said, on September 10th, 2025, Acclaim will reveal new surprises, exclusive content, and announcements that you won't want to miss. This is your first glimpse of what's ahead. And I'll be very interested in what they have to announce here, because the thing is that when they closed their doors down, any IP that they had involvement with got pushed to other companies. They don't actually own the games that they previously worked on, so they can't really revive a franchise without first getting a license and then partnering up with a studio to publish it. So we'll have to see what they're cooking up, but come September 10th, I mean, there's a chance here that we could see some franchises that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Now, speaking of nostalgia, there's been some rumors going around that the Embracer Group is going to revive the Tomb Raider Legend trilogy with an HD collection. This rumor first started on Reddit because somebody noticed that the Tomb Raider Twitter account has been posting about the Legend series as of recent. And, I mean, when you think about it, a Legend HD collection does make a lot of sense. The Embracer Group acquired Crystal Dynamics back in 2022, and pretty much ever since then, they've been on a mission to remaster their beloved franchises. That includes the original Tomb Raider trilogy, the Gex games, Soul Reavers 1 and 2, and also Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6. The Embracer Group has been using these games as pretty much easy money, and because of that, I mean, I don't see why they would stop this trend there. There's still a lot of fans for the Tomb Raider Legend trilogy, and it probably would sell decently well. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with all this, but if the trend continues, 2026 could be a potential release window for the Tomb Raider Legend Trilogy HD collection. Oh, and you know how we always talk about how publishers fear releasing their games near GTA 6? Well, apparently Hollow Knight Silksong draws a similar comparison for the indie scene. It's now slated for a September 4th launch, finally, right? But because of that, 5 independent studios have since delayed their game. This includes Clover Pit, Stomp and the Sword of Miracles, Eterna Lucis, Demon School, and now Baby Steps, which is that game that Sony seems to keep promoting for whatever reason. I don't know, this game looks weird to me, but it might actually end up being one of those meme games that takes off because of streamers. We'll see what happens with all that, but obviously Silksong is a big-time release. I saw somebody question its status the other day in the comment section, but just to kind of put things into perspective, not only is Hollow Knight viewed as an all-time great Metroidvania, in fact, it really helped resurrect that genre, and it's inspired probably at least 100-plus games since its launch. But it also sold 15 million copies. And there's not really a lot of games that can sell 15 million units. I mean, really think about that for a moment. Some of the most talked about, beloved games of all time haven't even sold 15 million copies. So Hollow Knight isn't just your everyday independent game. It quite frankly goes up there alongside some of the most successful games of all time. So yeah, if I was an independent studio and I was planning for a September release, I'd probably be delaying my game as well. Okay, now today is definitely an historic moment for gaming. Xbox just launched Gears of War for the PlayStation 5, which is still just so crazy to think about. I mean, this is one of my all-time favorite games ever, really one of my most played games ever. And every time a new entry comes out, my friends and I, we regroup. I mean, this is what we grew up on, and to see it on the PlayStation 5 after all of these years is mind-blowing to think about. I mean, this is a game that I would have never expected to be on a PlayStation console as a young teenager. Yet here I am 20 years later. And this time, some of us are actually playing it on the PlayStation 5. And then, of course, we also have Helldivers 2 because PlayStation just launched that for Xbox today. So they're trading franchises over here, which I really believe the two plan for that. It just seems like too much of a coincidence for both of these games to launch on their competitor's platform on the exact same day. But like I said at the top of the video, some of the early results are quite interesting. Digital Foundry dropped a video for Gears of War Reloaded today, and they talked a lot about its upgrades. It's actually a more significant improvement over Gears Ultimate Edition than I was initially expecting. The Coalition did a very good job, so much so that they actually convinced me to buy another physical copy. That way I can own the definitive way to play the Gears of War 1 campaign. The lighting and its AI upscaling, though, is a big improvement over what we saw back in 2015. Now, there is still some back and forth on, do you prefer the original Gears of War over the newer version? Because the older version definitely was more focused on horror, whereas something like Gears of War Reloaded, it's a lot more colorful. So some people do prefer that darker scheme, which I completely understand. But nonetheless, if you compare Reloaded to Gears of War Ultimate, it does have a much cleaner image, and it also has a 120 frames per second mode, which basically keeps its resolution intact. Now, in terms of the base consoles, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 seems to both be great options, but the PlayStation 5 Pro is its best platform. Again, to say something like that for a Gears of War game out of all games is just crazy to say out loud, but here we are. PSSR has posted some mixed results since the release of the PlayStation 5 Pro last year. But, I mean, I guess all PlayStation really needed was for an Xbox studio to come out and show the rest of the industry how it's truly done. I mean, that's kind of funny to think about, but, I mean, the Coalition, they really are great at that more technical stuff. And in this case, they really took advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro. It has a cleaner image, in part because of PSSR, it has a higher resolution, and it also has a smooth 120 frames per second option in that super performance mode, which is actually very important for a game like this. Gears is a very competitive series, and, having a more stable 120 frames per second will help gamers in competitive matches. Now, in terms of Helldivers 2, though, I'm hearing a little bit of the opposite, or at least for the Xbox Series S version specifically. I have seen various people claim that the Series S is a little rough compared to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And in fact, a YouTube channel by the name of Xbox Fusion claimed that the native resolution might be as low as 635p. Now, its performance still seems pretty solid at 60 FPS, which I'd argue is the most important thing. I do think that sometimes people view the Series S situation in the wrong way. I mean, you have to kind of remember that gaming is getting to a territory where it's hard for some people to justify a purchase because, unlike previous generations, consoles are actually becoming more and more expensive by the year. But hey, that's where the Series S comes in. It's a cheaper alternative option that lowers the barrier of entry for some of these more modern games. So yes, Helldivers 2 might not look as good as the Xbox Series X counterpart or the PlayStation 5, but I'm also going to go and point out that it's running a whole lot better than the non-existent PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. Just kind of throwing that out there. Now, one more thing before we go, though, because we are hearing about another Nintendo Direct, and what do I keep telling you all? Look towards September. I don't even need to be an insider to tell you all that because it's a basic pattern that Nintendo plays into pretty much every single year. So is it a surprise to hear that somebody is now claiming the month of September is the month that a Direct will happen? No, I don't think so. but it's still exciting for gamers to get that information from an inside source. And right now, that inside source is Switchforce and also the Video Game Chronicles. You can see here on their website, they said the reports of a Nintendo Direct have circulated for weeks. Now, Switchforce has suggested that a presentation will be held in September. Sources have told VGC that a Nintendo Direct presentation is in fact planned for mid-September. It's also worth noting that aside from 2024, a Nintendo Direct has been held virtually every September since the Nintendo Direct presentations began, which, hey, that's exactly what I've been telling you all. September seems to be the most likely candidate for a big Direct. We literally go through this almost every single year. Rumors pop up during the summer for a Nintendo Direct, and then July and August disappoints, only for fans to be rejuvenated in the month of September. I think last year was an exception to that, which, that was kind of a weird year for Nintendo anyways, but nonetheless, we are currently hearing September 12th or possibly September 18th, though I'm pretty sure that might be false information, which I'm going to explain that here in just a moment. Now, Switchforce claims the 12th, which is a day before Mario's 40th anniversary. So, that could be a good way for Nintendo to celebrate ahead of time because Mario's anniversary falls on the weekend this year. Now, the 18th, however, this is because of an Alarmo image that's been circulating online. You can see it here, and, it shows Metroid Prime 4 with a curious 9:18 time set on the clock. So, could they be teasing a Nintendo Direct for the 18th? Or maybe even a Metroid Prime 4 Direct. And, okay, yeah, technically that could be the case, only if this were actually legitimate. However, just because something has gone viral online, that doesn't mean it's authentic. And in this case, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but I've not found a single thing that leans into this actually being real. So I want to go and chalk this up as a fake rumor that somehow has managed to spark a lot of excitement online. Just remember to maybe question things on the internet from time to time, and that's all I'm going to say here. September 12th, though, that seems to be the more likely candidate for a date as of this recording. Anyways, though, that's going to be for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.